Welcome back, everyone. I am the Depressed Dealer, and this is Middara and Tabletop Simulator. So we go to a short victory, 394. The Soul Butcher took one last plodding step, then collapsed with a meaty thud. The whole room shook with the impact, and a few knives and other tools were knocked from the tables. Far in the distance, through an open side passage, they heard angry yells. One voice was soon joined by others until several Soul Butchers were all howling together. "Time to go!" shouted the pixies in unison, buzzing around Zeke and pulling him by his shirt toward the door. He didn't need much encouragement as he took off running. The others joined him, and soon Shayless was slamming the door closed behind them. "Warn us next time." "Hey, could you maybe warn us next time?" Nightingale asked, trying in vain to brush some of the stains off her skirt. "About what?" asked Green, flying past Zeke to hover in front of Nightingale. Green managed to fly backward without slowing down, which might have been impressive if Nightingale wasn't already annoyed. "Are you serious? I mean, warn us when we're going to lead us to a people-eating horror monster," Nightingale barked. "We can't just fly away from our problems like you can." "We said to be quiet. We never wake him," Green said. She flitted back and forth. "You woke him," Orange said. "Not our fault," said Green. "Not at all," Orange added. Nightingale let out a frustrated groan. "Okay, whatever. Just tell us when we're about to go into danger." They continued through the labyrinthine caverns in silence after that. It was hard to tell whether the pixies were following the dried blood trail Zeke had first noticed, or if the path just happened to lead in the same direction. "You need to turn back," the Maluma whispered. Not for the first time. Each time it spoke, it sounded more desperate. "This is dangerous. We aren't traveling to the destination you imagine." Nightingale ignored it. Eventually, the steep ramp descended into a chamber lined with towering pillars. The other side of the room was piled high with gold, coins, bars, and intricate pieces of wrought jewelry. It was the wealth of a king. Resting on top of it was a massive wooden coffin, half submerged in gold. 395. Grabbing our things. "Don't go anywhere," Orange said, buzzing past Zeke's head and flying across the room. "We just need our stuff." "And don't touch anything," Green added, flying just behind her. She stopped briefly in front of Zeke, who had already started making his way over to the gold. "This trap isn't for you." "What do you think they're doing?" Nightingale asked, staring after the pixies. "I don't know, but they said it wasn't for us. It must be hard to survive in a place like this," Zeke answered. The pixies grabbed either end of a large chain that ran along the top of the coffin. Somehow they lifted it, their wings beating furiously, and began moving forward. They pulled the coffin upright and dragged it toward the open door. As they did, the piles of gold and treasure all dissolved into a fine red mist. It was all a lie, except for the coffin. Zeke got a better look as they brought it closer. A large hole had been cut into the front at about head level with metal bars running across it. "But why would you use bars on a corpse?" As he stared, he couldn't make out a faint pulsing light from inside. He looked away, shivering. "What the hell are you doing?" Damocles asked. "We're taking our box," the pixies said gleefully. They had made it most of the way to the exit already and had to look back. "It's a rescue," Green said excitedly, "so we have to save our master." "We couldn't just leave Master here," Orange added. "Oh, no," Green agreed. Zeke said, "Your master's in there?" Damocles shook his head. "If your master is dead, I don't think you have to bring him. I don't even know how you can lift that thing, let alone carry it to find justice, then back out of here." "Stop." A voice echoed from within Coffin, and as it spoke, the glow grew brighter. Zeke jumped back, widening his eyes. The Coffin spoke again. The voice from within sounded human, far more human than the butcher had. There was only a slight reverberating echo, which Zeke might have expected from someone speaking from inside a box. "I am no longer my body, and my body is not here," it said. "Only my soul. My loyal espers and I have been trapped together in the Eyrie for uncounted years. I trust their decision not to feed your essence to me." They were quick to mention the trap we've used in the past on other, less fortunate creatures. "You can't take their essence," both pixies said urgently and in unison. "The handsome one is on a quest," Green said. "A quest to save us," Orange added. "He broke the agate stone to let us free," Green wiggled excitedly under the burden of the chain. "We can't come between an adventurer and his reward." "Is that so?" The light within the coffin seemed to intensify, as though whatever was inside was examining Zeke. "A fair lady always prepays her knight," Green said. Orange flew another tight circle around the coffin before landing it to rest on her chain. She was still staring down at Zeke. He shivered under her intense eyes and looked away. The coffin sighed loudly. Very well. What does your knight request in exchange for freeing me? We're looking for someone. We're looking for someone else. At his words, the pixies looked at each other, almost in shock. As well as you, Zeke added quickly, and the pixies seemed to relax. But our friend, I'm afraid she might be with the Shadow Lord or close to him. She's down here somewhere. I thought the pixies were taking us to her, but I misunderstood. Clearly, saving you first was important. The coffin was quiet for a long moment. You cannot kill the Shadow Lord. I cannot help you fight what cannot be killed. But I could help you find your friend. Escort me to the surface, and in exchange I will give you directions to the heart of the Shadow Lord's domain. Though understand that I am not to blame if all you find is a corpse. Zeke swallowed hard, the thought sending shivers through him. He nearly jumped as Shayla put a hand on his shoulder. Please give us a moment, she said. We need to discuss this. Shayla led them back into the hall, out of earshot. Do the party have the Story Flag Reluctant Partnership? Yes, continue below. Do we have Massacred? No. Damage control. Oh, by the way, here's the coffin. Not the most pleasant. Alright. There is no question this discussion is only delaying us, Zephyr said impatiently. Shayla scowled at him. That thing is down here for a reason. Zephyr waved her away. The Eyrie is open now. Whether we help this creature or not, it will find its way to the surface. Finding justice in that shard of the Pontifex is more important than trying to delay the movements of a single monster. Shayla opened her mouth to speak out, but was cut off by Bria. I know what that thing is. Bria's voice sounded uneasy. Zephyr raised an eyebrow. Really? Yeah. The coffin probably had a body at one point. He or she created the coffin to hold their soul in. Shayla scoffed. Why would someone do that? Bria continued. Isn't it obvious? This is the realm of a Shadow Lord. What happens to souls of those who die here? They're trapped forever, slaves for all eternity, the Maluma whispered in Nightingale's head. So it's human, or was. It must be using the coffin to protect itself from the Shadow Lord's influence, Zeke asked. Maybe. Shayla crossed her arms. I've never heard of or seen anything like those pixie creatures. If they're espers, they aren't from any realm I know about. Princess, this bickering needs to stop. Zephyr held his hand towards Shayla's. We are wasting valuable time. We need to prioritize finding justice in the Pontifex peace above all else right now. We're in too deep for any other course of action, and we need to do this quickly. Leading this creature out of this damnable place could save us hours or days of wandering aimlessly through the labyrinth. We could run into things a lot worse than a soul butcher if we are not careful, Damocles said. I think Zephyr is right. This is the best option if we want to do this quickly. Zephyr gave Damocles a grateful nod, then turned to the rest of the group. It was up to them to make their choice. What's another monster? 397. Rook spoke in harsh whispers. You're not considering this, are you? That thing admitted that it would have us killed, or have killed us. The only reason we're alive is because those pixies are in love with Zeke. We can't let it loose. Of course I'm not considering it, Shayla said. We already failed to keep the Eyrie closed, and I'm not going to help creatures down here get out. Traveling all the way back to the surface would waste more time, and guiding that thing out is dangerous. Patrick motioned toward the coffin. You honestly think that thing needs us to find its way out? If it knows the way directly to the Shadow Lord's lair, I'm sure it could find its way out without us. Like you said, Rook, those pixies have a crush on Zeke. The thing is just humoring them. If we refuse to take it up on its offer, what would stop it from turning on us? Do you think it'd be easier to fight it than to escort it out? And how much time would it take? We need to get moving. This is our best shot. Rook groaned, shaking his head. There's always another way. We could look for another path ourselves. Do we really want to waste time taking this huge thing back to the surface? What if it's lying, and it turns on us after we show it the way out? If we lead this thing out of here, we're responsible for the deaths it causes. Shayla said, her face dark. Anything it kills will be because we allowed it to go free. Can you live with that? Can you live with passing up the opportunity to save justice, to save Nightingale? Zeke asked. They locked eyes for a few 10 seconds, but neither backed down. You are wasting time, the coffin called from down the hallway. If you want to find your friend alive, I suggest we hurry. And with this, we have to make a decision. We can either help the coffin escape, or we can decline. So on my personal playthrough, or at least the one where I've completed it so far, I did help it, and it did lead to one particular route. I do want to decline it and see what happens. So we'll decline helping the creature, and it'll have to find its own way out. Finding another way, 398. Alright. We can't help a monster, Shalis declared. It already threatened violence, and the pixies almost got us killed. If we set it loose in the world above, it might turn for Greyhaven and hurt innocent people. Sorry, Zeke. She's right, Rook said. We can't trust its word. We thought the pixies were taking us to justice, and look where we are instead. Just because it knows the way out doesn't mean it knows the way to the Shadow Lord. What if it doesn't like our answer? Damocles crossed his arms. It will turn on us for sure. Then Rook hefted his weapon into both hands. We fight together. Take your anger out on the creature, not us. Damocles and Zeke exchanged a frustrated look. Then Zeke turned back toward the coffin and took a few steps closer to it. The pixies looked at him with obvious excitement and anticipation. I'm sorry, Zeke said. We need to get our friend back. We don't have time to help you. The coffin sighed, and the pixies' grins turned to scowls. You're no hero, Green hissed. A false knight, Orange yelled. The coffin rattled slightly. I'd rather not have to kill you, but you've upset my espers. Your essence will fuel my escape. It burst open suddenly, spilling a desiccated corpse onto the ground in front of them. The others all stepped up, besides Zeke, weapons at the ready. The coffin moved so fast, none of them could react in time. Spectral tentacles lashed out from within, pulling its surprised victim inside, then slamming shut. Randomly select an adventurer who is not injured other than Zeke. The selected adventurer is pulled inside of the giant coffin. This adventurer is unselectable. Note which adventurer was pulled inside of the coffin. Before continuing, choose the active group. So any adventurer that's not injured, so that's everyone, essentially. Also, I guess technically you wouldn't be including Justice because she's not there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put out a bunch of initiative cards. So it can literally be anyone. There are 8 people. So there's a chance that it could be someone that's useful to us. And we're going to grab, essentially we're going to grab 2 purples for every person. And we're just going to roll, and whoever gets lowest is going in the coffin. Oh, sorry, we don't include Zeke. Gotta remember that. We don't include Zeke in that. Okay. Here's hope. So like I said, I've never done this path. I know it leads to a fight, obviously. I did see how its card works because there were some issues with the errata, and they didn't actually have a command card for this card in the past. All right, lowest is Shalis. So Shalis is going in the coffin, which sucks because she is our ace. Literally out of 7 people, it got Shalis. That's impressive. Yeah, it's everyone else got much higher. So we're gonna lose Shalis for this. Okay, which is gonna make things incredibly more painful. All right. So that means it's going to come down to Nightingale for most of this. We do have some options. We're going to go ahead and take, we'll take Remy. All right, with that, oh, this is not agreeing with me. There we go. All right, and then just re-add all of you guys to the lot. Alright. Yep, wrong one. Well, I have my grenades. My precious, precious grenades. Alright. Good news is I haven't used summoning yet, so I can definitely make use of that. I'll throw everything I got at this. All right. So this goes down to that. That becomes red. If we do win, though, we'll get like 6 items. That'll be nice. 6 consumables. Can't go wrong with that. All right. And then 3, 2, 6, 3, 4. Excuse me. Defense is only 12. And then 21, 25, 29, 33. Okay. That's what we got going on. All right. We'll go ahead and clear the board. Boss fight, Obscene Rescindo. There's a game over state. The strange pixies flank the coffin on either side, holding giant chains. The coffin leaves a trail of blood as they drag it along. You're startled as a wall of viscous fluid bursts from the floor. The thick, dark ichor crackles with power. It's going to be hard to get around, but going through it seems like a bad idea. Okay. So the little arrows are showing that the pixies are on top of those objectives. Alright, so obvious things here. Immune to poison and condemn. When the Obscene Rescindo deals damage, it heals equal to the damage dealt. It has 3 armor, 4 movement, 14 defense, rolls 2 blues, and has 500 health. If there's an opponent adjacent, it will cast a spell 6, which is empowered, by the way. Deals 12 magic damage. If you fail the conviction check associated by the spell by 7 or more, you're instantly defeated. Any opponents who are flanking the Obscene Rescindo cannot be targeted by this spell. So if you surround it, essentially you'll be okay. It'll also make make a separate range 4 attack against all opponents within range. Also, the maddening gaze is the confusing part. So when an opponent starts their turn adjacent or not within SOI of the Obscene Rescindo, it will cast a spell 6 against that opponent. It will inflict condemn. Opponents flanking the Obscene Rescindo cannot be targeted by this spell. Opponents that fail the conviction check associated with this spell by 4 or more are not afflicted with condemn, but must spend 1 stamina to move towards the Obscene Rescindo. This counts as their move for the turn. If they do not have 1 stamina to spend, they still move, but they recover 1 less stamina during their refresh phase. Yeah, so this thing's annoying. It has crush, which means if it tramples over you, you're going to take damage. And then we got the pixies. Each of them have 80 HP. They have 16 defense. Anytime an attack or spell fails to hit the pixie, they immediately end the action, and then they roll a purple and essentially teleport to another objective token. And if it's occupied, they reroll. They make 2 attacks against opponents with most damage. They'll teleport all over the place. And if the Obscene Rescindo is on the board, they move it 7 spaces towards that pixie. So essentially, they yank the chain and send the coffin flying. And during that movement, the Rescindo, of course, has crush. And then, of course, it has range 7 attacks as well. So this thing is a little bit of a mess. All right. So there's the Rescindo. We start in the center. Special rules. Lair of the Shadow Lord. Same thing as before. If anything dies, it will spawn something. When setting up this encounter, We get the scene. If we defeat it, we read the hidden text. We got the Ancient Pixies. Blood Wall. While an Ancient Pixie can draw a line of sight to an objective token, all spaces in a straight line between the Ancient Pixie and an objective token create a Blood Wall. If an adventurer is in a space that becomes a Blood Wall, or enters a space with a Blood Wall, they are dealt purple of magic damage. If an adventurer draws line of sight through a Blood Wall while making an attack, they get -1 to the attack roll. Above the fray, Ancient Pixies can draw line of sight through opponents. Okay. And the objective is just to defeat the Resendo. Obviously, getting rid of the Pixies does help, just simply because the Pixies yank the things all over the place. So this is going to be confusing. While an Ancient Pixie can draw a line of sight to an objective token, all spaces in a straight line between the Ancient Pixie and an objective token create a Blood Wall. So like this, I guess. It has to be a straight line, so diagonals don't count. Alright, I think I understand it. Sort of. Alright, so we'll go ahead and, like I said, this is the first time I've done this combat, so I am going to make mistakes. So it's going to come down to Nightingale being able to kill the Pixies. I think that's going to be the gist of it. I can definitely kill one of the Pixies pretty easily. They're not immune to Condemn, so I can definitely kill them. But I'm gonna go ahead and call it a video here, so I can have the big fight just all on its own. Alright, so I am the Depressed Hero. This was Middara on Tabletop Simulator. I'll see you guys in a bit.